Hey Dynamo Nation, what's going on? My name is James. Thank you for joining me on this episode. If this is your first time here, welcome. I appreciate the view. If you're not subscribed, please take a moment to consider subscribing. It definitely helps the channel out. To all my returning subscribers, viewers, thank you so much for helping build Dynamo Nation up over these last 5 or 6 weeks. We're almost at that 100 subscriber mark. I can't believe that, how fast it's happened. Again, wanted to thank each and every one of you for making that happen. You guys are truly the heart of all this, so I appreciate it. This episode, we're going to be looking at IDP sleeper picks for Week 14. It's weird saying that being the regular season, but this is it. All the chips are being pushed into the middle of the table right here. End of the season, teams are still fighting for playoff spots, playoff seedings, and yeah, I'm really excited about it. You know, this is the first time that we've ever been through this, 14 regular season games, but here we are. So enough of that. Let's get right into our IDP pickups for the week. As always, we're gonna put up our table here on the screen. You'll be able to see. Again, we're gonna look at the best teams, the top 10 teams to start our defensive linemen against, our linebackers against, and our DBs against. So I'll leave that up there for a few moments, let you guys get familiar with it. And yeah, there's some pretty good matchups. Again, Week 14 is another week where we have a lot of buys. But on the defensive side of things, I feel like there's great matchups that we can exploit across the board. So that's a good thing. All right, we'll pull this off. Now that we've all seen it, gotten familiar with it, gotten acquainted with it, let's jump right in. Our first player that we're going to profile here is going to be defensive lineman Greg Gaines, Los Angeles Rams. I'll throw his stats up here so you guys can take a quick look. Greg has been pretty impressive over the last several weeks. We look at Gaines, he's only rostered in 2% of leagues right now. He's only being started in 51% of leagues. The Rams had the 5th best matchup against the defensive line this week, going against Arizona, so he has a plus matchup. Gaines has played in 89% of snaps the last 5 weeks. That's another great sign. He has at least 6 points since Week 7, at least 6 points a game since Week 7, and he's averaging nearly 10 points per game in that time span. Another interesting note about Gaines, he's 5th in pass rush win rate and 4th in run stop win rate. And those are from the NFL Next Gen stats, those last two. And when we think about that, we're seeing that he is dominating at the point of attack. He's been pretty impressive. I watched a little bit of his tape. Gaines has impressed me a lot. I think the Rams have found a diamond in the rough. I definitely think they have a starter on that defensive line moving forward. And the thing about the Rams, we all know Aaron Donald's there. He commands so much attention that he's going to allow players like Gaines to eat. And that's what we're looking for in IDP. We're looking for percentage snaps. You know, he's almost at 90% the last several weeks. We'll take that. And we're looking at matchup. He's got a great matchup this week. Gaines, definitely a player, and he's only rostered in 2% of leagues. Very good chance that he's on waiver wires right now, and you can pick him up and exploit this good matchup here in Week 4. All right, we're going to move on to our second defensive lineman. We're going to be looking at DJ Jones, San Francisco. I'll throw his stats up here. We can take a quick look at this. This is another interesting player. I included Jones on this list for one main reason. He has been a boom or bust player the last 6 weeks. And 3 out of the last 6, he's got double-digit points. And not like just he's hitting 10. He's hitting 19, 16, 17 points. And this is for those teams that are in a tough matchup this week where you might need some points out of your defensive line and you're really needing someone to go off. Jones has been that guy. 3 out of the last 6, he's been, like I said, double-digit points. 4 out of the last 6 matchups, he scored at least 7, which I can live with 7 points from a defensive lineman. I don't like it, but I can live with it. You know, so he's averaging almost 10 points a week in the last 6, 9.5. Again, he's been a boomer bust player. He's only rostered in 3% of leagues, but he's being started in 73% of leagues. And Cincinnati is who San Fran's going against this week. Cincinnati that's the 8th best team to start your defensive lineman against. So again, this is a boomer bust situation, but I purposely included him here. He could throw up 4 points this week. Let's make that very clear. It could be a 3-point week. That's 100% possible, but it's also possible based on the matchup and based on what he's been doing that this is a 16, 17, 18-point week. If you're in a situation where you desperately need this win, this is a win or go home situation for you, week 14, and your line is trash, and you need a boom type player, I think you could do a lot worse than DJ here. So those are going to be our defensive linemen. Let's slide on over, take a look at our linebackers. And these two linebackers I want to take a minute to talk about before we get into them. I judge all of my stuff. All of my Dynasty stuff, I think you've learned by now, is off of my fantasy league. These two linebackers are rostered outside of the top 50 on my fantasy league across all of their IDP leagues. And I don't understand how. Okay? They've been hurt. They've had injuries this season, but they are proven commodities at the linebacker position when they're healthy, and they're both healthy right now. Our first is going to be Christian Kirksey, Houston. That defense is absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. Kirksey is going to eat. He's the only playmaker that they have on that defense at the linebacker position. He's going to gobble up points nonstop. Let's throw Kirksey's table up here, stats, so you guys can all see what I'm talking about. Kirksey through week 8 this season, before going down with that fractured thumb, was the LB22. In that time frame, he averaged 13.25 points a week. That's nice. That's a nice, solid linebacker too, which is where he was at. He came back week 13 after that fractured thumb, and he scored 16 points right away, right back to his old ways. You know, they have Seattle this week, week 14. That's the number 16 matchup, so it's an average matchup for the linebacker spot. But Kirksey, he's only rostered in 7% of leagues, and he's being started in 65% of the leagues. Kirksey needs to be rostered in more than 7% of leagues. He has been a proven commodity at the linebacker position for a very long time. When he was with the Browns, Kirksey led the league in tackles at least once, so he's been a very good linebacker for a very long time. This is a player who, if he's healthy, you know you can put him out there, you're going to get 15, 16 points most weeks. I love that out of him. He's a very solid, very safe LB2, LB3. And there's a really good chance he's sitting on waivers. If you're not in a deep league, a deep IDP league, he's sitting on waivers. That's crazy to me. You know, we look at a standard 12-team league. You know, even if you have to start 4 linebackers, that's the top 48. Kirksey's outside of that. There's no way that there's 48 linebackers in fantasy better than Christian Kirksey. Absolutely not. So that'll bring us to our second linebacker of the week. Another linebacker who's not being rostered very highly, again, outside the top 50, Jalen Brown, Tennessee Titans. Brown, another player hurt, but he has a proven track record. He's been a very good IDP contributor for years. And look at what he's doing over the last 4 weeks since getting that starting job back. We'll throw it up. Take a look at this. We're looking at a player who's averaging 16 points a week in that time frame. He scored 64 points in the last 4 weeks. Rostered in 8% of leagues, started in 62. He's the LB24 in the last 4 weeks, so another solid LB2. I mean, and he's sitting on waivers most likely unless you're in a very deep league. And week 14, they have the Jags. It's the number 24 matchup, so it's not a great matchup. But still, it's good enough. I mean, the Jags are a team that's going to run the ball. We know that. But I have confidence that Brown is going to be out there and get those points for us. I'm not too worried about that. I think we have great, great linebacker matchups this week in terms of our sleepers. If you can get Kirksey or Jalen Brown and plug them into your lineup this week, especially, like I said, if you're not in a deep league, if you only have to start 2 linebackers, which a lot of IDP leagues, I'm realizing that's what it is, 2 linebackers, maybe a flex, there's a good chance that these players are sitting on waivers. If either one of them are and you need a play this week, both are great pickups. So let's slide over, continue. Let's talk about our DBs this week. Dean Marlowe, yes, from the Detroit Lions, safety. He is going to be a pickup this week. This man is rostered in under 1% of leagues. So I guarantee you he's sitting on waivers in your league. Guarantee it. The only chance he's not, I picked him up in one of my leagues. So if he's not on waivers in your league, you might be in a league with me right now, because I picked him up in a couple of spots already. So we'll put Dean up here. He's gotten the starting job over the last 2 weeks. Took that job from Will Harris. He's played 90% of the snaps the last 2 weeks, which is great for us. Again, rostered in less than 1% of leagues, being started in 46% of leagues. Last 2 weeks, he's averaged 15.5 points per game, which is great. He's had 13 solo tackles, 4 assists, 1 pass defense. And the Lions have a great matchup this week. At Denver, it's the number 6 matchup for our DBs. So we look at Marlowe, great matchup, recent production, the snap shares are there. This is a rock-solid IDP pickup. He's playing safety. I know some managers in IDP prefer safeties over corners and don't want to touch corners. I was like that 10 years ago. I'll be honest. 10 years ago, if you were to look at an IDP roster for me, not one cornerback was on that team. I'll admit it. But as time has gone on, the league has turned more into a passing offensive situation. Cornerbacks score points, period. You cannot ignore that. That's going to segue into our last pickup of the week, IDP side of things. Nate Hobbs, cornerback, Las Vegas Raiders. Hobbs has been a playmaker over the last few weeks. I've been very impressed by the IDP stats that I'm seeing. Very impressed. We'll throw him up. You guys take a quick look, see if you agree. When we look at Hobbs, again, this is a player rostered in under 1% of leagues. He's being started in 66% of leagues, though. So that does tell me that he does have appeal. Owners are realizing that he has been producing. So that's one good thing. But Hobbs is averaging 12.2 points per week since week 9. During that time frame, look at these numbers. 19 solo tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 9 assists, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception, 1 sack, 1 pass defense. That is the definition of a playmaker. And this is coming from a rookie at cornerback? Yeah, you could sign me up for that. 100%. I'll take that all day. And when we look at their Week 14 matchup for the Raiders, they're going to play Kansas City. What is Kansas City going to do? They're going to throw that ball. You think that Pat Mahomes, that offense, after the putrid outpouring that they just gave us, is going to be held down again? I don't think so. I think we're going to see a different offense. They just went into a back and forth. Think about what Mahomes did to the Raiders a few weeks back. And in that game, Hobbs scored 14 points. He had a really nice game that 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. So I think this is going to be a great matchup for Hobbs. On paper, Kansas City is more of a middle-of-the-road matchup for him, but I just feel like that offense, this time of the season, to get back right on track, I think this is going to be a great matchup for Hobbs. I think all 6 of our IDP pickups this week, have potential to really help us out. You know, the main player out of all 6 of these that I'm most uncomfortable with is DJ. And that's just because of his boom or bust, potential. But if he booms, he's going to hit big. Like when we look at the top 4 or 5 defensive linemen, the top 5 maybe average 10 points per week. So if he's able to go out and have one of those boom weeks and get you 18, 17, whatever it might be points, you just got the DL1 that week on a guy who's sitting on waivers for free. That's a great opportunity for you to take advantage of a play and get some points that you might not have gotten elsewhere. Every point is going to count this week. Don't overthink this stuff. Do your research. You don't want to be that team, that manager, that throws out this lineup without putting in the effort, putting in the grind, and you lose by 1 point. How often do we see that happen? And it's so funny, like last year, we had real quick snippet, real side story. We had a team in one of my main leagues, playoffs, first week of the playoffs. And this is a person who ignored his IDP all season. Like, didn't know what he was doing with his IDP. Constantly neglected it, put no effort into it. Lost, and he started an IDP player who hadn't been playing, like, at all. Like, his snap share was consistently going down. And anybody who pays attention could see that. He started him. He got 0 points, got a goose egg. And this person lost by 1/10 of a point. 1/10 of a point, lost his first round playoff matchup. And the funny part is, if you go back and look, he would have won the entire championship in that league because he scored the most points, in week 15 and week 16 versus the teams that were in it. See, he would have won the championship if he would have taken the time to pay attention to that IDP side of things. Don't be that guy. Do not be that guy. So those are going to be our 6 pickups for the week on the IDP side of things. I hope you guys are winning. It's grind time. I'm in the playoffs in my main leagues, both of my main leagues. The expansion team that I've been talking about won last week, 8-5. If I win this week to get to 9-5, I have a really good chance at winning the division. And my other league, 10-3. We'll see. It's me or the other guy in my division. We're both 10-3. So one of us is going to come out with the title this week. Anybody's game. I'm in the playoffs, so that's all I care about right now. Get to the playoffs. We'll win those titles. So hope you guys are able to finagle this last win, get into the playoffs, lock up this W. And yeah, let's take this momentum into the playoffs. Dynamo Nation, I appreciate you. Again, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Welcome to Dynamo Nation. We appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, please consider taking a minute to do so. And to everyone who has supported this channel so far, subscribes, likes, comments, any of that, I really, really appreciate you. So be on the lookout for our 100 subscriber video. I'm working on something there, and I'm going to be doing a giveaway as well. So stay tuned to that. So there we go, Dynamo Nation. Let's get it. I'll see you guys next week.